We can all have our different opinions. We can all have our different opinions of what we love and what we hate. Even if there's some movie that I love but you hate and a movie that I hate but you love, we can understand our opinions. We can understand each other. However, if there's one thing that we can agree is that the movie that I'm talking about on this video, we can agree it's bad. Absolutely. But in case you haven't seen it, then I'm just gonna tell you right now that this movie, this game movie is not only one of the worst films that I have ever seen in my life and one of the worst films ever created. But we can probably agree with this if you want. But this game movie is probably the worst horror movie to ever exist. Yes, I said it. The worst horror movie to ever exist. I mean, I haven't seen every horror film because I'm not a horror fan. But this is one of the worst horror films. But so far, this is the worst horror film I've ever seen. It's even worse than Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. It's even worse than Final Destination 4. It's even worse than Mousetrap. And dare I say it? It's even worse than Where the Dead Go to Die. Yeah, I said it. Yes, there is something out there that's somehow even worse than this. Not one hint of sarcasm. This is somehow even worse than this movie. But with that said, what movie am I talking about? The movie that I'm talking about is called Piglet. Where do I even begin? Well, I guess I could start off by saying this. In case you guys don't know, which you probably do by the way, but I'm gonna say in any... Sorry. Sorry. Anyways, in case you guys don't know, which you probably already do, in 2023, when Winnie the Pooh became into the public domain, which means anyone can use that character. Because Disney didn't create that original character. They created Mickey Mouse, but they didn't really create the original Disney character. So director of the movie, Reese Waterfield, made the first Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey film, and everyone hated it. People think it's either just a stupid horror film or a film that's so dumb it's hilarious. How are my thoughts? I do think it's bad. Sorry. Sorry. Throat problems. Anyways, I do think that film is bad, just kind of watchable bad. It does have some nice moments, like the visuals are beautiful to look at. look at the directing is fine, and I will admit there were some creepy moments and some things that I liked. But with that said, it was still just a stupid horror film. It the characters are mostly just most of the characters are mostly just stupid. Not stupid. Stupid. And outside of maybe like one or two the humorous nods, the use of Pooh and Piglet as the movie's monsters is just completely wasted. They just shammer around like any other average horror killer. But I do have an idea. What if we make a film about this, but even worse? you just remove you just remove Pooh from the movie and make the movie about Piglet, but it's not really about Piglet. Instead, Piglet is just a side villain, and the main villain and the real horror killers of the movie are just two random dudes, psychopaths that plan this whole thing. That's this movie. I'm sorry. Did you want Piglet to be the horror killer of the movie? Well, then it sucks to be you, because Piglet is basically a side character in this movie. Yeah, that's the thing. At least with Blood and Honey, they let Pooh become the main villain of the movie. They they actually do. But with Piglet, he's just a side villain. All he does is just kill people for pretty much no reason. Are you guys sure you didn't steal this from Blood and Honey 1 and make this even worse? This movie is absolutely worthless. It doesn't change it doesn't change anything from Blood and Honey 1 like we prayed and hoped it would based on the trailers. All it does is subtract. It takes everything from Blood and Honey 1, but decides to make it surprisingly even worse than the original movie. Like, you know how in the like you know how in the original movie that pointless scene where this girl named Tina runs around in the woods looking for her friends, and then Pooh just happens out of nowhere and just kills her just like that? Well, why don't we make it even worse? Instead, let's just make it about 3 people instead, and why don't we show two of them making out in the middle of the woods while there's a freaking killer pig out there? That's what. Okay, they don't act just to make out. They do something even more naughty than that. But because of YouTube reasons, I don't want to say it, and I'm too disturbed to think about it. But they pretty much make out in the middle of the woods, and then Piglet just pretty much just kills them afterwards. And then there was this girl that likes to draw, and I thought he killed her just like that, but then he somehow let her stay alive for some reason, and then afterwards, and then a few minutes later, he just kills them just like that. What was the point of that? You could have just killed her, or you could have just made Piglet kill her earlier, and nothing will change. But you could have just removed those 3 from the movie, and literally nothing will change. What? What was the gosh darn point? And how are the rest of the characters, by the way? Oh, they're all and how are the rest of the original? And how are the rest of the characters, by the way? Oh, they're all terrible. Thanks for asking. you know how in the, you know how in the, you know how in the, you know how in Blood and Honey there was these 5 girls that. You know how in Blood and Honey there were these 5 girls there was these 5 girls that were trying to survive Pooh and Piglet for trying to kill them, and they each get killed one by one? Well, why don't we make them even more stupid and even more Why don't we make them even more stupid and even more unlikable? Plus, at least with the first one, there were some things I liked about them, and at least I kind of remember their names, like Maria and Jessica, and I think one of them was named Ava or Amy or Lori or something. I think that's what their name is. Let me know in the comments if you remember their names. But with these characters, not only I don't freaking care about them, but I don't even remember their names. I mean, I guess there was one character named Jess or Mary or something. I don't know, and I really don't care. But they're somehow even worse than the original. There was this gay couple that's somehow even worse than the other. That's somehow even worse than the original gay couple. There was that random girl that added nothing to the movie whatsoever, but they put her anyway because too many characters means good movie. And there was these sisters that I just don't freaking care about them. Mostly because, okay, do you guys remember Escape from Planet Earth, where what where Gary is the smart one and Scorch is the dumb one? Well, why don't we take Scorch, but make her like the dumbest person alive? But making the dumbest person alive. That's the big sister. She's seriously the dumbest person ever. At least with her little sister, she has a little bit of a brain. I mean, she's stupid, but at least she's less stupid than all the others. Her sister in this is the dumbest person alive. It's clearly obvious that there's this killer pig that's out in the middle of the woods, but instead and there's this hunter guy that tried to warn them about this, and he's probably the smartest character in the movie, which isn't saying much, by the way. And he tries to warn her, but instead the sister just believes this suspicious old man that clearly works for a pig maniac rather than some guy that looks less suspicious. By the way, I know the old man's a bit. I know we already saw that the old man is a twist villain or something, but by the way, that's not really a spoiler because if you see the trailer, you'll understand. But even if I didn't know he was a villain, I still would have trust that hunter guy other than this old man. Plus the only reason why they even trust her because, like I said earlier, everyone in this movie except the horror killers are complete morons. Not to mention there's also this cop side villain that they literally just introduced 20 minutes left of the movie. He was only in the movie for like 5 minutes, about to do some thing with the little sister, even though she's freaking 21 and he's like, I don't know, 30 or 30 something years old. Did I forget to mention that this movie is not just a horror movie, but it's probably even more sick. That it's probably even more sick than Where the Dead Goes to Die. Please keep in mind I said probably. Well, here's the spoiler for this movie, just in case. Even though I wouldn't recommend anyone watching this, but it turns out that the old man is Piglet's brother. And sorry. I have throat problems. Anyways, it turns out that Piglet is the old man's brother, and there was a scene earlier in the movie where where one of the girls that was gay for another girl that like I told you earlier, there was a story that Piglet loved a woman, and it was the same woman, and it was in that same name as the little sister. Well, first I thought it was just pointless and a waste of time, kind of like that stalker story from Blood and Honey. Well, it turns out that story is not just pointless, but it also turns out that this whole time, the old man wanted his brother Piglet to be to fall in love with the 21-year-old girl. I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding. This actually happens in the movie. I mean, the girl is like 21 years old, and Piglet is like, I don't know, who knows how old. Someone is actually okay with someone is actually okay with this. Someone is actually okay with putting this in the movie. Oh dear God, it's abysmal. It's unwatchable. It's godforsaken unwatchable. How could anyone be okay with it? How could anyone be okay with this movie? With that happening in the movie? But anyways, back to the villain cop. He's pretty much in the movie for like 5 minutes. Barely does anything except trying to kiss the 21-year-old girl, which, ew, by the way. Even by these movies, that's just ew. But the 21-year-old girl just kills them anyway. So what was the point of having them in the story? And then afterwards, she just kills the old man afterwards, which once again was pretty pointless to the overall. It was pretty pointless to the overall goddamn story. And and about Piglet, there's nothing I could say about Piglet. Outside of that twist scene, there's nothing I could say about Piglet. I mean, okay, there is one thing I could say. Do you know that in the Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey films, it turns out that Winnie the Pooh and his friends are animal crossbreeds, like half animal but can walk the same size as human? You know how people had problems with that Winnie the Pooh and Piglet are just dudes in rubber masks? Well, it turns out in this movie, Piglet is just some random dude wearing a mask. Does this have to do with anything? Does this have like a twist spoiler or anything? Maybe it turns out it's the main character's father? I have no freaking clue. You could have just made these guys as you could have just made these guys make Piglet as as an animal killing crossbreed like Winnie the Pooh, and absolutely nothing will change. There is no point. There is absolutely no point. There's absolutely no point to put that in the movie. Oh, and another thing I want to add about the movie is that the story, there's barely a story. It's basically the same as Blood and Honey 1, but even more disturbing and even more stupid, with even more pointless scenes that could be removed from the film without anything changing. I mean, I would explain to you what the pointless scenes are. I mean, there is that one scene where the killer just looks at the Pit's mask, but that added nothing to the film whatsoever. Another thing I want to say. There was this one scene where the 21-year-old looks at a bloody man that looks really hurt, and it added nothing to the film whatsoever. I think that was supposed to be Christopher. I think I think that was supposed to be Christopher Robin or something from Blood and Honey 1, but the movie never really explains it. They just put it there to make people know that there was this, to make the characters know that there was a pig monster the pig monster in the woods, but so it added nothing to the film whatsoever. Good work, guys. Good work. You are the definition of pointless scenes. Okay, disaster movie is the king of pointless scenes, but you are the second most. And you are the second most. And there's something else I was gonna say. What else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, remember when I said that every character outside of the killer is a moron? Well, you know how everyone had a problem with the girls not leaving the cabin as soon as as soon as they know that they're monsters, like Pooh and Piglet try to kill them. Well, they already know. Well, in the beginning of the movie, when we first introduced them, they already know that there was a pig killer trying to kill them, but they don't even leave. They don't. They don't. They don't go to the car and leave. They don't call someone for help. They don't even call the police. As soon as they made a joke, as soon as the old man made a joke about calling him in case for help, I immediately said, "Ha ha, that's a funny joke." Because they're not gonna call the police in this movie at all. I mean, when the police officer arrives, I thought to myself, oh, finally, someone actually called the cops in these movies. But no, it was just another pointless twist villain. Dude, seriously, you made Dude, seriously, the twist in the movie is so bad and so pointless. It makes Prince Hans from Frozen look like Frollo from The Hunchback of Notre Dame. You know, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, like an actually good movie. But do you want to know what the worst part of this movie is? The thing that makes me loathe it more than any other of these horror films, even more than like Blood and Honey 1 and Mousetrap, it's the editing. Now, 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 I'm not saying that the editing is the worst thing to ever happen in these movies, but at least with Blood and Honey, there are some there. The film looks really cool for the most part, and there are even some cool moments with Mousetrap. But with Piglet, the film looks boring. That's the best way I could describe the film. It's freaking boring. There wasn't a single shot that I enjoyed. Okay, maybe there are some cool scenes with Piglet, but outside of that, it's just boring. And I will admit, Piglet does look more intimidating in this movie than Blood and Honey 1, but that still doesn't change the fact that the film looks boring. And the killing scenes, once again, at least with Blood and Honey 1, there were some fun kills. The kills in this one, they're not just bad, but they barely even happen. And not to mention, the blood effects. My god, the blood effects. I can't even consider this bad or terrible or anything. It's freaking unfinished. The blood effects are not even finished. They don't even go the Blood and Honey route where they have like heads ripped off. I mean they do kind of do that, but it's not in a satisfying way or anything. They don't have like heads getting squashed or people getting run over or anything. They're just unsatisfying. I mean, every time someone stabs people in the movie, it looks absolutely fake. I mean, that's the best way I can describe it. Not only it's fake, but it's freaking unfinished. This these effects, they're the worst killings I've ever seen in a movie. I mean, this movie, the effects in this movie, it looks even worse than Final Destination 4. And that movie came out in 2009. And, and this was back when 3D movies were still getting popular. And dare I say it, the blood effects in this movie, it's even worse than Mousetrap. And that movie came out, I think, last year, either last year or 2023. Yeah, it's probably last year. Anyways, it looks even worse than that movie. And not, and also, and with all that, I did not want the movie to end this badly so much in my life. I mean, there's a bunch of those, but as soon as I reach over the hour mark, I just wanted this movie to be over. I can't remember the last time I wanted a movie to end this badly. And I'm sorry if I'm praising Blood and Honey 1 if you hate that movie, but at least Blood and Honey 1 has some pretty cool effects and some likable characters and a fantastic score. Oh, did I forget to mention the music score for this movie is absolutely forgettable? There wasn't a single track that I remember, or was I humming in my head? But anyways, at least Blood and Honey 1 has some likable characters, some cool moments, a fantastic musical score, and some fun kills. I mean, the way the kills happen are stupid, but at least they're fun to watch sometimes. And at least it actually finished its... And at least with the Blood and Honey films, it actually finished its freaking story. This movie ends out of nowhere with the 21-year-old killing Piglet, and then when it shows him being smashed to the head, when it keeps cutting to black, which by the way, it looks awful by the way, it shows her ripping Piglet's head, and then it just cuts to the end credits. I mean, really? This is how you're ending your movie? Really? If this was like a post-credit scene, I could probably understand. But I don't think that... But this isn't like a sequel to anything. This isn't a sequel to Blood and... This isn't a true sequel to Blood and Honey. This isn't a prequel to Blood and Honey. It's like it's from another universe. And with Blood and Honey 1... And with Blood and Honey's 1 ending, I can understand. Because it's a post-credit scene. That means they were making another movie, and even in the end credits, they saying that Winnie the Pooh will return. But oh my God, in the end credits, they don't even show that to say that Piglet will return. Piglet will return. Yes, you could say that Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey film was unfinished, but that made sense because it was a cliffhanger to another movie. This movie, it barely even has an ending. It just shows the 21-year-old girl killing Piglet like that fifth Banana Split member in the Banana Splits movie. And then it just cuts to the end credits. But at least she finally did the right thing and killed Piglet. I would have enjoyed this movie. I would have enjoyed this movie if it was like so bad it's hilarious, like Shark Tale. At least make it like that. But it's not. But it's not. But it's not. This isn't a movie that's so bad it's enjoyable like Blood and Honey 1. This movie's... It's godforsaken horrible. I mean, there wasn't a single smile on my face. Nothing I enjoyed. I mean, there was one scene in the beginning where where the guy was listening to his headphones instead of helping his friends. That kind of got a chuckle out of me. But other than that, nothing. But other than that, there wasn't a single thing I enjoyed. The story is so. The story is horrendously unfinished. The characters are either annoying, are either really annoying, really unlikable, or just a gosh darn pervert, or a psychopath, or even psychopath, even more of a psychopath than Piglet, which is a killer, by the way. The score is hilariously forgettable. The movie looks boring, except with a bunch of cool shots with Piglet. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. I haven't seen. You know, last year, the worst movie that I've ever seen was Megamind vs. the Doom Syndicate. And we can all agree that that's bad. But for me, it was a horrible sequel because I really loved the original Megamind. Piglet, this movie, it's even worse than that. It's even worse than that movie. It's godforsaken unwatchable. Not to mention, it looks even worse than that movie. I don't even know what else to say. I mean, with the makers of the movie, I can't even say what the heck is wrong with you, or are you high, or are you messed up in the brain, because the answer is yes. Apparently, they're so messed up that the directors of this movie are probably more messed up than like Aaron Freeberg and Screamer Claus. Oh, I also forgot to mention the acting. Holy Jesus, it's terrible. I mean, first it starts like regular bad acting, like you expect from other bad horror films. But when it gets to the worst, oh god, it's so first it was bad already, but somehow it finds a way to be even worse than that. I mean, okay, the acting's not as bad as Disaster Movie or Where the Dead Go to Die, but it's still pretty bad. And that's all I can say about the movie. The the story is unfinished. The movie looks boring, except with a few cool shots with Piglet, but other than that, it looks boring. The characters are either really unlikable, really annoying, or a gosh darn psychopath. The acting is terrible. The acting is terrible. The acting is terrible. And and there is nothing good about this movie at all. Nothing about this movie that works at all. But on top of that, it's worthless. If you take away the pig monster, if you take away Piglet, an iconic character, and replace him with like, I don't know, Jason or Michael or even Freddy or Pennywise, then you get a stupid horror. Then you get a stupid horrible slasher where nothing makes sense. But if you do add Piglet to this movie, it cuts across from bad to insulting bad, to insultingly horrible. But by making a horror film to an iconic character from a children's book and children's cartoon, it comes across as completely freaking worthless. At least with the other horror films, there are some things that I liked, even if those movies are terrible and awful. Sometimes I will admit that there were some scenes that I liked from Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey with some fun kills and some likable characters and even some good laughs. I mean, it's not the film that we want, but I always have a soft spot for that film. And sometimes I will admit that Final Destination 4 has some fun kills. And yes, the racetrack in the beginning of the movie is cartoonish, but at least it was fun for the most part. Sometimes I will admit that there was one scene from Mousetrap that I laughed at, that with the guy riding the ride and he keeps saying, I'm so high, I'm so high. It was pretty funny, and it does reference Infinity Blade, which is the greatest game ever. Don't debate, don't tell me which is better, don't tell me which one is better, it'll never top it. And don't tell me which game is better, it'll never top whatever game you have to say. And yes, sometimes I will admit that there were some cool shots with where the dead gonna die, and some good camera shots and angles, and the character designs are pretty okay for the most part. Atop from being 90%, atop from being 90% of shock value. 90%. I hate these horror films, but I will admit that they are not 100% worthless experiences. But with Piglet? There's no character that I like. There's no good story. There's no fun kills. There's no compelling protagonist. And there's no even fun antagonist either. It is the definition of a worthless experience. I cannot believe that ITM Productions consider this theater worthy for the longest time. Actually, I could totally believe that. But regardless, this is the bottom of the barrel for these horror films, and the bottom of the barrel for these public domain horror films. I mean, I haven't seen all of them yet, and I haven't seen every horror film, but this is the worst one that I've ever seen. It is my honor to give this utterly irredeemable film this channel's very first 1 out of 10. In fact, let me give you the other ratings for some of the films that I mentioned before. Blood and Honey 1, 4 out of 10. Blood and Honey 2, 6.5 out of 10. Yeah, I do actually think it's decent. Final Destination 4, either 4 or a 3 out of 10. Mousetrap, 2 out of 10. And Where the Dead Go to Die, 1.5 out of 10. This movie is a 1 out of 10. I'm not sure if it's the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I'm still deciding if it's even worse than Disaster Movie, but it's really close. Screw this movie, screw how it's made, and screw the people who decided it was a good idea to make it in the gosh darn first place. Oh my god. I can't remember the last time this movie was horrible. I mean, okay, Where the Dead Go to Die, maybe, but my god. I just keep seeing the worst of the worst. These last 2 years, I've seen pretty much the worst. Like Disaster Movie, 8 Crazy Nights, Despicable Me 4, Superhero Movie, and Superhero Movie, and Where the Dead Go to Die, and even Food Fight. This film, it's even worse than that film, except for, okay, maybe not worse than this Disaster Movie, I'm still deciding, but this film is even worse than those films. It's godforsaken unholy. It's absolutely horrendous. As for my recommendation, no, absolutely not. Your time is your time is not to be wasted by this movie. Whatever you do, don't go watch Piglet. If you see it on like Freevee or Amazon, don't watch it. But don't watch it at all. Or if you see a DVD from it, burn they grab the DVD, burn it, pick up the ashes, burn the ashes, and then carry it, and then bury it in the deepest hole you can find, and then bury it even longer so that movie cannot not exist. So you can never go through that movie again. And do the same with those other horrible films I just mentioned. If you're even a little bit of a biggest fan of the Blood and Honey films, I would not recommend this to you at all. I mean, there are so many other 2020 films in 2025 you could watch, like Dogman or Final Destination 5. That's one of the greatest movies I've ever seen in my life. And Weapons, and The Bad Guys 2, and Fantastic Four, and Superman, and K-pop Demon Hunters. And K-pop Demon Hunters. Those films are so much better. If you watch this, it'll be the biggest mistake of your life. This is not only the worst horror film I've ever seen, and not only the worst horror film of 2025 that I've seen, which is another reason why 2025 is a crappy year, but this is probably one of my top 2 least favorite movies of all time. Yes. I'm not even kidding. It's not bad. It's not horrendously awful. And this is exactly why these horror films are better off dead. But the main reason the main lesson to get through with this is that yes, it really is that bad. It actually is one of the worst films ever made in the same lanes as disaster movie, Food Fight, and Where the Dead Go to Die. And this is why these horror movies are better off dead. So with that said, screw Public Domain horror films, screw Public Domain movies, and screw this movie! I'm done. I'm so freaking done. Screw this movie. I'm done.